The top 10 songs of Elvis Presley. Gotta say beforehand, before I get any grief about this, it's not his 10 biggest songs, not his top 10 best-selling songs, just my opinion, my top 10 favorite songs of Elvis. At number 10, it is Love Me Tender. Love Me Tender was a good example of the ear that Elvis had for music. This was a Civil War adaptation song from the 1800s that Elvis essentially took, readjusted to his own liking, and made it a hit. Due to Elvis performing it on the Ed Sullivan Show and it being the soundtrack for the movie Love Me Tender, the song Love Me Tender was actually a gold record before it even came out. The movie was originally supposed to be called The Reno Brothers, but due to Love Me Tender just taking over and becoming a gold record so quickly, they had no choice but to change the name from The Reno Brothers to Love Me Tender. At number 9, it's The Devil in Disguise. Bill Giant, Bernie Baum, and Florence Kay helped write Devil in Disguise, and Ray Walker from the Jordanaires actually lended his backing vocals for this as well. Very catchy tune. Devil in Disguise was a very easy meaning behind it. It's merely just somebody who acts like they're good, but deep down they're actually not. Devil in Disguise was certified gold, and at one point was number 1 in the UK for an entire week. At number 8, it's Blue Suede Shoes. Although Carl Perkins did write Blue Suede Shoes, he was the brainchild behind it, I do think Elvis's version is probably the most synonymous with it. I see it as such. Carl Perkins wrote it, Elvis helped popularize it, and then Buddy Holly and Eddie Cochran covered it, and you cannot find one bad version between those four. At the 7th spot, we got Suspicious Minds. Originally written by Mark James, it did not do well commercially at all, so Elvis took it and made it into a number 1 hit. Much like Devil in Disguise, pretty simplistic meaning behind it. It's dishonesty and distrust within a relationship that they would need a lot of things to go right to correct it. Of course, Elvis being Elvis took this hit from being not so great to being fantastic and actually had Mark James help him with the next song. At number 6, we got Always on My Mind. Elvis would record Always on My Mind in 1972, just shortly after his breakup with his wife Priscilla. Again, essentially a loving tribute to his wife Priscilla for all that it went down in their marriage. One of his biggest songs of the 1970s, and I had mentioned Mark James earlier. He had written Suspicious Minds, and he had actually helped write Always on My Mind. At number 5, we got If I Can Dream. The MLK inspiration throughout the song definitely ran wild. If I Can Dream, clearly a depiction off of I Have a Dream, the famous MLK speech. He was killed less than 10 miles from Elvis's home. It was just, the inspiration was there. Elvis knew his platform. He knew he had a lot of people that listened to him, and he was done with the Christmas stuff. He didn't want to do it anymore. Why not make a masterpiece about hope and change and real life and talk about how this can all get fixed? It was a masterpiece. At number 4, we got Hound Dog. Perhaps his biggest song of all time? I'll leave that up to you, but definitely one of them. Certainly you know he wasn't the first or the second or even the third person to sing Hound Dog, but his version was far and away the biggest one. And this was the beginning of Elvis, the hip swinging, the driving the kids wild, the PO'd parents, the PO'd press, anything possible he can do to get under their skin. It started because of Hound Dog. At number 3 is In the Ghetto. I'm all about the catchy songs and the lovely ballads, but again, I love meaningful songs, and In the Ghetto was one of his most meaningful songs for sure. Elvis took on this song because he had experience. He grew up in the poorest state in the country, Mississippi, during the 1940s. He'd seen these things before: crime, poverty, drugs, people dying way too young. He had experience with this, so he decided to sing about it. Just because you have more doesn't mean you're better than somebody else, and it touched on the unfortunate cyclings that happen in the ghetto on a routine basis. At the number 2 spot, we got Can't Help Falling in Love. Easily, to me, his best love song of all time. His 68 comeback special, the live version, I think is the best version, even more so than his actual recording version of it. Also, big shout out to Alyssa Baker and Haley Reinhart. They both have phenomenal covers of this song as well. It's a French love song. I believe the Jordanaires were also doing backing vocals again. But yeah, it's went platinum for a reason. It's his biggest love song, I think, of all time. If you're an Elvis fan and this isn't in your top 10, we got some discussing to do. And finally, at number 1, we got Jailhouse Rock. Probably the best movie he was ever in as well. It was a wrongly convicted inmate who was going to make himself a popular star upon leaving the prison. Upbeat tempo the entire time, one of the greatest music videos of all time, one of the earliest music videos of all time as well. Definitely my favorite Elvis Presley song of all time. And that is the list, and you can imagine how hard it was to limit it to just 10. He's got so many great songs. Thank you so much for watching. If you can, take a second to hit subscribe if you have not already. I got more daily content coming. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your top 10 Elvis songs of all time. Hit like if you enjoyed it. Follow me on all social media platforms, and I will see you guys next time.